Hi, Janaki.
Okay, I'm going to introduce my guest today. Mittal Gala is the only professional woman naturalist I know. She's also worked as an administrator, but I'll be talking to her about her experiences as a naturalist. I've always been envious of her job. She gets paid to do what costs most people a lot of money to experience for a couple of days in the wild. Is that impression true? I'm going to ask Mittal that question and more in this interview. But first, the mandatory questions from the Proust questionnaire. Mittal, which living person do you most admire?
Oh, it's a difficult question. There are so many people that I admire, and I think, yeah, I have Dharmender Khandal, I have Ram Whitaker, I have Vidya Venkatesh, I have Karthik. There are so many people. It's hard to tell which one do I like the most or admire the most. And I've learned a lot from all of them.
Which talent would you most like to have?
The talent of expressing myself without having the fear that people are judging me all the time. I think I would love to be more confident and be more expressive.
What is your most treasured possession?
Hmm, my binoculars.
Okay, spoken like a true naturalist. So, Mittal, tell me, how did you become a naturalist?
So it was a fluke. I had never planned that I would be a naturalist. I worked at various places from Agumbe to Ranthambore as a manager and Madras Crocodile Bank. And over the years, I have also been traveling and meeting a lot of people. And with that, I had developed an interest in every living thing from spiders to plants, and I had great mentors all along. So when I wanted to go back to the landscape that I love the most in Rajasthan, I decided that I would go as a naturalist. And that place never had a naturalist, and it was a completely new position, but they were equally excited as I was. So, yeah.
Perhaps because of the way I framed this interview, at least two people have asked, what qualifications do you need to have a career as a naturalist?
Um, I There is no qualification as such, but you need to have a keen interest in nature, and you should have an open mind to learn about everything. And Yeah, the more you know about every little thing around you, the more your interest, your curiosity will take you to learn more and know a lot about other things. I think that's how, and also your personal experiences. I think a keen interest in natural history is important.
So, where did you learn? Where did you learn your skills?
So, as I said, every place I worked, I had good mentors, I had good people I interacted with, and I learned a little bit about, and also I was interested in everything. So, I started with learning about reptiles, moving to amphibians, and then when I was working in Ranthambore, I learned a bit about mammals. And when every time I would get time, I would go on nature walks and trails with more experienced people. So I think it was mainly the people that I worked with and I have been associated with.
So, besides knowing the various species, what are the other skills you need for the job?
Lot of patience, and you have to also keep yourself updated with what is happening around in the natural history world. You read books, you read articles. Yeah, I think that's what. And of course, when you're curious about something, you ask questions. And if you do not know the answer, you try different ways to find answers to it. And I think that's how over the years you incorporate those answers that you have found with your own experiences.
So, Mittal, you're the only woman naturalist I know. Are there any others? Any other women?
Yes, there are quite a few. In fact, 10 years back, I wouldn't say there were many women, hardly maybe one or two or maximum three. But then in the last 4 5 years, there have been quite a few women naturalists. The ratio between men and women naturalists is still highly skewed, but I'm glad that there are more women naturalists now than what it used to be 10 years back.
Why do you think it's taken women so many years to break into the field? Like, what's stopping them?
I think if you say 10 years back, the concept of naturalist was very new, especially in India, and not many people were aware of the term naturalist. And since it did not require any formal training or academic qualification, people were not sure how the job would be, how secure it would be. And for women also, I think most of these wildlife tourism jobs take you away from home. You live in remote areas, you live in places which are away from the main city, and families are usually not very comfortable with that idea of sending the women so far from home. And then they also have the worry, what will happen when it comes to marriage. What if she finds a guy? I mean, that was the main concern my family had. And another thing I also noticed in my experience was the moment you say that you are going to work in a resort, they are not very comfortable with the thought. The idea of women working in tourism means you will be either traveling a lot, or you'll be working late nights, you'll be meeting a lot of people, you'll be interacting with a lot of men. So it took a while for my family at least to understand these things. But I think things are changing now, and I'm glad that they are.
So, how did you convince your family when they had these misgivings about your new job?
I don't think it was that hard. I think there was a little bit of family drama I had when I first told them that I am going to leave Bombay and I'm going to Agumbe. My mother was in tears, and my brothers were accusing me of, that I don't want any responsibilities. I'm running away. I had my aunts who were asked to come home and try to convince me. So yeah, there was a bit of drama, but yeah, then finally I think they agreed, and I wasn't going to change my mind, so I rebelled.
Wow. Yeah, someone did tell me at one time when I was wondering why there weren't more women, they did mention that the job involves interacting with guests late in the evening and there might be worries of guests misbehaving. Is that true?
With me, it has happened only once, but more than the guests, I don't think it is. At least now, in as I said, now it is not so. Maybe a few years back, it was one of the concern with guests misbehaving, but mostly. So, in my experience, Janaki, naturalists, only high-end resorts are able to afford naturalists, and most high-end resorts have clientele which come from different countries, from different parts of the world, and they are much aware of how they should be behaving with women. So these kind of incidents are very less. I don't know about other places, but there are issues that women do face when it comes to working in an organization where there are a lot of men and there are very fewer women. So the support system is not there if these kind of things happen.
So supposing there were an incident, what recourse do you have as a woman? Whom do you complain to?
So that's another thing which worries me is that most organizations, it's sad that many organizations and people in general are still not aware of women's safety in a workplace. And it's terrible how some women are treated by their co-workers. And yeah, organizations are either not aware that they have to think about these issues, or there is no kind of support system, there is no kind of group discussion, there is no kind of forum or committee where the women can talk about these things. And for most organizations, they think it is normal, it's a silly thing. Not just sexual harassment, maybe that's something which is very serious, but even things like day-to-day comments on how you dress, or asking about your personal life, and commenting on various things, on the way you walk, the way you talk, and those kind of things. For the longest time, I used to feel bad, but I used to blame myself, thinking that it was my mistake. Maybe I am too friendly with people, and I'm giving wrong signals, and people are being, people are probably thinking that I am somebody they can be over friendly with, and I wouldn't mind. And there was no way I could complain to, because I myself wasn't aware that these are some issues that I should be discussing it with someone. And no, until I joined NCF last year, I didn't even know organizations had these kind of policies or discussion groups where we can talk about these issues. So yeah, back then that was one of my major concern, that I had no uh, support system if I had a situation like this.
Right. So for most Indians, if you mention the word wildlife, all they can think of is tigers,
Yeah.
right? Has that been your experience?
Yes, most of the popular big mammal parks, they have their iconic species, and they're obsessed with that.
So what do you think needs to be done to make people, tourists, appreciate other species more?
Um, there is not one way answer to this. It involves a lot of work from all sides, from the tourism side, right from when they're advertising their trips, from the tour guides, from the resorts they are staying in, from the forest department, the guides. There needs to be an attitude change from everybody, from all sides. And most of the wildlife trips in India are sold on the basis of tiger sightings, from brochures to their emails that they get. So people who visit India, they already have high expectations. And when they land in India, they get received by their local agents, who again raise their hopes of seeing tigers. So when they actually go on the safari, they may go on one or two safari, and if they don't see a tiger, their whole experience seems ruined, because the drivers and the guides are also obsessed in showing you the tiger. So they rarely stop at showing other things, showing other wildlife. So it's just racing from one end to the other in search of tigers, and this needs to be changed.
Yeah, you
and
mentioned, sorry, go on.
and people need to realize that you know tiger is not everything. There are so many wonderful things that happen in the forest, and you should just learn to enjoy everything.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier that you learned to ID spiders and amphibians. Has any guest ever asked you about what is that frog or what is that spider?
Oh Yes, so these have been the most wonderful experience going on nature walks with the guests because you show them and talk to them and you know read stories about the different things that you see, and they get very fascinated when you talk about how spiders eat up their webs every morning. I mean, some species, and some things which they had not even dreamt of. So they feel very happy about it. Yeah.
Good. So you're an interpreter of nature, in a manner of speaking. So do you think people develop a connection with forests and wildlife from those few moments they spend in these parks?
Definitely. I've got really good feedback, and I've also, after interacting with them, after going on a nature walk with them, when they go on the safari, they start noticing the things that we discussed on a walk. So when they come back, they do tell me what they saw, when they saw a specific tree, which I had explained during my walk. So it's nice to know that they do remember, then they keep an eye out for it, and many of them always email me saying what they have observed in their backyard. Yeah, so it's quite encouraging that way.
Nice. So what's the most exciting or thrilling moment you've had in your career as a naturalist?
There are many incidents. What would you like to know? Would you like to know about big cat experience or a reptile experience that
How
I've
about both?
had? Okay, so one of the as a naturalist, the lodge where I worked, it had a beautiful campus of 25 acres, and it had mixed habitat, dry deciduous forest patch, grassland, fields, water bodies, and the campus used to hold a diversity of wildlife. And every morning I used to walk around to look for what animals had visited last night, looking at the tracks. So one such morning, me and some friends who had come to stay over and some co-workers, we all were tracking some animal prints. And we took a loop around the lodge, and at some point, the sand trail changed to a stone path. And one side it was fenced, and on the other side there was tall grass, and we were just walking in a line. It's a small path, maybe half a meter or so. And suddenly I stopped because I could smell something rotten. And I was asking, I just turned around and asked people behind me that could you smell something gone bad, some carcass, and nobody could smell anything. So I just didn't think about it, and I just continued walking, and suddenly I just stopped in my track, and everything happened so fast. There was a tiger maybe say 10 feet away from me, sitting in the
Wow.
tall grass, and it just jumped and growled so loudly, and it ran off in the other direction, and I was simply frozen with my mouth open and eyes wide, and I didn't know what to do. And uh, and guests always ask me, what would you do when you see a tiger, when you face a tiger, or when you face a leopard, what do you do? And you tell them, yeah, you don't make an eye contact, or you just give them some story. And but then when it happens to you, you don't know what you do. I mean, you don't know what your reactions are. But that was fun. Luckily the tiger ran away in the other direction. So that was one incident. And and then, as I said, the lodge had quite a few water bodies. Occasionally we used to have a crocodile, and once we had two crocodiles. So my bosses were worried that there are two crocodiles now, and they will breed, and there will be babies, and there will be lots of crocodiles, and it is not safe. And I had just, I mean, after working at Croc Bank, I felt a bit confident that no, this is not the ideal place to breed. The habitat is not right, and if it has to breed, it has to go back to the forest. And I used to convince everybody with that. And then one fine day, I see a croc has 28 babies next to it, and
Wow.
we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what would happen, and I was like, okay, what are we going to do with this 28 babies? But I think another 6 months, a lot of them dispersed, and some of them also dispersed in the swimming pools of next door properties, and I was often called to go and pick up those croc babies from the swimming pool. So that was fun.
Yeah. You don't work as a naturalist anymore. Why did you switch careers?
I wanted to travel, Janaki. That's one of the reasons. Um, Yeah, so my job required to be at the lodge for say 6 months, 7 months, and that is from October to April, May. And after that, the rainy season starts, and I don't get to travel. I mean, if I want to go out for birding or any forest, monsoon is not the great time. So that used to be one thing. I wanted to travel. I didn't want to be stuck with a job which would not let me travel. And I also wanted to gain some new experiences in a different project or different kind of yeah. So
So what do you do now in NCF?
So in NCF, I work with Bird Count India. It's an organization. It's an informal organizations, a partnership of organizations where we mostly work with bird watchers and we encourage bird watchers in bird monitoring and bird listing. We do a lot of citizen science work, and so that's one of the main project that I'm involved with.
So what are your future plans? Do you see yourself doing this for a while, or do you plan to go back to being a naturalist at all?
At least for a few years, I do want to take this, go ahead with this because I really enjoy doing what I'm doing right now. But maybe you never know. I would like to travel and I would like to see a different landscape. Maybe not as a naturalist, but maybe as a freelance naturalist where I can go to various different paths.
Right. So if you were in an alternate universe, if you had a choice of careers with no limitation on what your parents would say or not say, if you had total freedom, what career would you choose?
I would like what Ram did.
What's that?
Yeah, I would like to travel around. I would like to talk more about less known animals. I would like to walk through forests without any restrictions. Um, yeah, and look at everything. And I think, yeah, I would just want to be a naturalist, but naturalist which does not have any restrictions or does not have to worry about what people are thinking or how safe you are. I would like to spend more time inside the forest.
So do you think, thinking about the words that you just said, that you are safer with, you feel safer with animals than people?
Oh, absolutely, anytime. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much, Mittal. That was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, Janaki. Thank you very much.